everyone, hope you're all doing well. Got another CROSSOUT video for us today. Now this video is going to be sort of a first parter in like a mini series of building videos that I'm going to be doing. Basically, I wanted to do a video on a certain amount of tips and like sort of exploits and tricks that you can do when building something in CROSSOUT that wouldn't ever occur to a newer player. These are the sort of things you're going to pick up after like, a couple of years of Clan Wars or something, and it's like you're gonna have to put time into the game before you realize this stuff, because obviously there's a bunch of different ways to do things in this game. It's kind of a sandbox type idea, and certain things just will never occur to a new player. Anyway, I had about 6 or 7 of these on my list. I was going to do it in one video originally, but to be honest, by the time I get to fully describing all of these things, it's probably going to be like a 30 or 40-minute video, because I can't like get in depth on this stuff. So instead of breezing through it for the sake of everyone and covering all in one video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of smaller videos like today where I cover one subject. Now this video might take 5 minutes, it might take 20, but the idea is that like if you're looking at this video weeks or months or even years after it's come out, if you were to YouTube search a certain aspect of building, then hopefully this particular video would pop up in your feed and you would learn about it specifically. But I didn't want people to have to watch like a 30-40 minute video to get to the one part that they were interested in, if that makes sense. So anyway, today's video is just going to be about ammunition, basically how you store ammo in this game on your build. There's good ways of doing it, there's very bad ways of doing it, and there's sort of dual purpose ways of doing it, whereby your ammo boxes can act as ammunition boxes, obviously, but they can also act as armor. So I've got several builds lined up on my right just to talk about the various parts of it. But firstly, we're going to talk about the wrong way to store ammo in CROSSOUT. Now, this is probably going to be the way that newer players are going to store it, because they don't really know any better. It's going to make sense to them being newer to the game. Before we get to that, there is a second reason why I wanted to do these videos, and it's that building in this game can sort of be a lot of it if you decide if you want it to be, or a very small part of the game if you want it to be. So there are plenty of players in this game who like to build their own stuff and like to run it in clan wars or competitive or PvP stuff like that. But there are a lot of players in this game who only really enjoy the gameplay and they're not particularly interested in building, or they know someone in game who is better at it than them or something like that. So you'll have a lot of players in CROSSOUT who either will get their builds that they run from a friend that they trust, and if they don't have that, they will get it from the exhibition. Now, the problem with getting a build off the exhibition is that there are people in the game who will deliberately sabotage a build and then upload it to exhibition, hoping that newer players will run the build, not know what they're looking at, or not look too closely at the build itself. And then when they run it, they will have a essentially nerfed version of their build, because it has a glaring weak spot that they simply do not know about. So this build in front of me by here, this is a sabotage build that I found on the exhibition. It's basically meant for Battle for Uranium. As you can see, it's 9,000 power score. So someone put this on the exhibition. I've changed the name and I've changed the paints and everything, so no one can like lambast whoever did it. But it was put on the exhibition in the hope that newer players would find, either newer players or people who didn't build in the game, would find this build, assume that it was basically what they wanted. For example, they went up against a Reaper Humpback Brick, like, oh, I'll get one of those, I have Reapers, and then they picked this build off the exhibition. Now, this is sabotage, so you wouldn't want to run this particular build, but a newer guy probably wouldn't know. So that's the reason why I wanted to make a video, is that hopefully, if you watch certain one of these mini videos that I'm doing, I say mini, this one will probably be 20 minutes long. But if you watch one of these videos, you might be able to identify that the build is dodgy or not, you know? So hopefully that, because some of that starts to like stick in, if that makes sense. Right, anyway, like I said, we're going to get to the wrong way of storing ammunition in CROSSOUT first. And sadly, this is basically the way that most newer players are going to store ammo, just because to them on paper it just makes sense. This is how I stored ammo when I first got into the game, and that is basically to just put it in the middle of the build where you believe it to be safer. So if you go over to the ammo pack, it's right in the center of the build. Now, the problem with that is that if you put it in the middle of the build, next to say a generator or a jockey, or next to your frames in particular, then when one of those explodes, it can cause the second part of the second module to explode as well. So say if you shot this ammo pack, for example, and it was right next to a generator. Now that ammo pack could explode. It will damage your frames of the build, it'll damage your other modules, it'll damage your generator, it might even destroy the generator. That explosion then causes your generator to explode, which will then damage the frames even more. And that might be enough to actually cripple your entire build. Now, obviously, that's a big glaring weak spot, and that you don't want that when you're in game, because at the end of the day, if you shoot one ammo pack or destroy one ammo pack in the middle of your build, then you've essentially crippled the entire build itself, which is very, of course, highly inefficient. So you don't want to ever do that. That is how newer players are going to do it because they don't know any better, but you want to get away from that as soon as you can, if at all possible. Also, you might think that, say, because it looks like a rather chunky build, right? And you think, oh, because it's in the middle, then I don't really need to worry about people, or like, I don't need to worry about weapons being able to reach it easily. It's going to take quite a while for any guns to reach deep into this build. Now, that's old CROSSOUT, that might have been a decent idea, but in newer times, it's not really the case. There are weapons in this game that are specifically designed to penetrate single parts of a build and go deep into that build. Like Scorpions, for example. Put a Scorpion on a Jackie, you're going to shoot off, and you shoot at armor, you're going to shoot through 600 durability of armor pretty much every time. So a Scorpion shot, very well, one single Scorpion shot into the side of your build by here, may very well have the damage to penetrate all the way to the armor pack and then destroy the armor pack. Also, bear in mind, the Comet just released, that's the new Battle Pass item. So if we go here, the new Battle Pass crossbow, which I unlock soon, which I'm very much looking forward to. Now, the entire perk of this gun is that it deals 85% more damage to structural parts. Now, the base damage of the Comet, I believe, is like 600 or 700 on a Jackie. Let's have a look, actually, just for clarity. I can't find it on the SW, really? Okay, anyway, it's about 700 on a Jackie, I believe, which is a lot of damage. Also, with the perk, that's 700 extra 85%. That means it goes up to about nearly 1300 damage against purely armor in one shot. Now, that is plenty. If you were to shoot a Comet at the side here, that will go straight through that, straight through, hit the armor pack and explode it. And obviously then that can damage frames, that can damage other ammo packs or other generators and stuff like that. So, basic principle is you don't ever want to store it deep within the build. The only build in the game that might get away with that would be something like a Machinist. Now, where's the Machinist? If we go to the Machinist, the layout of the cab itself is basically designed to store stuff within. So as we can see, you could store, say, a green ammo pack here, and then like an Apollo out here. When the Machinist cab first released, it was kind of meant to store ammo. You could store an ammo pack here, and then you could store like a generator here. Now, it is a good place to store a generator, in my opinion, because it's just the safest place on the build, but you still don't want to store an ammo pack and a generator in here, because when one blows up, it could very well blow up the other. So, for example, if you had a green ammo pack here and, say, an Apollo by here, and someone shot the Apollo and destroyed it, the explosion from the Apollo, again, is going to damage the frames of your build, and all of the frames are going to be under your cap, because it's a necessity. So the Apollo explodes, it damages your frames. That Apollo explosion very well might destroy the green ammo pack as well, and then that green ammo pack will explode and damage your frames again. So by shooting off an Apollo or destroying an Apollo at the back, you very might well take off the entire frames of the entire build, which is obviously a glaring weak spot. So I would simply never recommend storing ammo deep within a build like that. It's just really dangerous, to be honest, because like I said, one Comet shot, one Scorpion shot, other stuff like that, Atreus, stuff like that, and you're basically screwed. You don't want a big weak spot like that. So that's how not to do it. We'll go on now to what is the best way of storing ammo in CROSSOUT. Okay, and as for the first and best way of storing your ammo in CROSSOUT, that is essentially to exploit the, I guess you call it, the despawning mechanic of this game in order to store your ammo appropriately. Now this is, we'll edit in the build actually just to illustrate what I'm off about. But this is very efficient and very useful on blue armor packs, especially because they're only one square thick. So what you can do is you'll put a bumper on like this at the front of the build and at the back. And because of how the game mechanics works, once a part is no longer attached to the build, it essentially ceases to exist. Now this could be a, 90 kilogram, 80 kilogram ammo pack, or it could be a 1,500 kilogram Mastodon. It doesn't really matter. The point is, once it is no longer connected to the build by another part, or connected to the frames by another part, then it ceases to exist. So you can use that as a really good exploit in order to store ammo, whereby we use a bumper, for example. If this bumper gets destroyed, then the ammo pack ceases to exist, which means it never explodes. And because you put it at the front of the build, the odds of the ammo pack somehow exploding before the bumper does is basically just negligent. It will almost never happen. 99 times out of 100, this will go and then this will despawn. So you never have to worry about the ammo pack exploding in the build or under the build or anything like that, because it just ceases to exist kind of straight away. Even if you were to shoot it with a scorpion shot, for example, right here, the scorpion shot already goes very, very quickly. It doesn't matter. Once this is gone, this automatically despawns. It'll never take damage once it's no longer connected to the build. You can do this at the front and at the back using the radar again. This will always fall off before this does, and then it'll despawn. So you just never have to worry about it. And it's the most efficient way of storing ammo, because before certain things like this were used, you've got two choice of places to store your ammo. Either it can be close into the build, like the first part was, where it's like right next to a generator or something. You don't want that, because if it goes pop, it's going to ruin your day, and it's just a huge vulnerability. Or you can have it extended far off from the build, and then you don't have to worry about the explosion radius damaging, your armor or anything. The problem with that, though, is that firstly you have to mount the part onto the ammo piece to extend it away from the build, and then the odds of you crashing into something with that extended piece of ammo is quite high, and it can just ruin. It can really affect like the movement of your build itself. So getting around it like this is the best way to store ammo, because it just despawns and you never have to worry about it. The odds of this actually blowing up is pretty minuscule, because it's covered by the hermits on both sides, and again, 99 times out of 100, that'll go pop, and then that'll just despawn, which is really, really good. Right, that's basically straightforward, and that's the best way of doing it. It's very efficient with blues, obviously, because you can just put it under a frame like this, but you can do it with greens and purples also. See if I can. Yeah, so if you go for the green armor pack here, it is connected to the three armor pieces at the back. I've got it connected to all three, which is then connected to the grinders. So once these go pop, which they're very likely to do, this goes off. And it's quite unlikely, even if you're shooting at the back, for you to go for the 200 dura of this before these three have come off. So it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Like most of the time, these all come off, and this will just despawn. Majority. Because when people shoot at the back of grinders, a lot of the time they'll just shoot at gun height. So they'll shoot at, say, this height, for example, here, just to get the weapon, to get the squishy bit like that. Very rarely would they actually shoot low. You should, if you do come across the back of a grinder, but people don't often do it, so you don't have to worry about it too often. Okay, the second way of storing ammo in CROSSOUT is that you basically have them whereby you mitigate the risk of their explosion. So I've got this build in front of me. This used to be a pulsar build, but I don't have pulsars. I grabbed off Exib. But it illustrates my point perfectly well. It's probably the best way to store ammo close to your build, or like really in close to your build, without having to worry too much about it getting destroyed. So in this case, the majority of the time, if you want to destroy this ammo pack, the hover, because it has less durability and it's sort of in front, even though it's at the back of the build, if you shoot at it from the back, for example, 9 times out of 10, I would say, the durability of the hover will be destroyed before the durability of the ammo pack will be destroyed. So what'll happen is that'll go bang, and then this will explode, but there's nothing to really worry about after this hover's gone. Like if this explodes here, you lose the frame, but the frame isn't connecting anything because the hover's already gone. It'll damage the cabin. The explosion radius will damage the cabin, but the cabin is going to take damage even if the ammo pack wasn't there anyway. So this could explode, you just really don't have to care, to be honest. So let's see if I can illustrate what I mean. Where is my scorpion hover? Let's try it. Like for example, the only real chance of it getting, even if you shoot it in the side, if you got explosion radius anyway, it's gonna take that frame regardless. So even if you shoot at the back and it'll explode, it'll just take the hover and nothing else. The build still flies. You haven't really lost anything that you wouldn't lose anyway. So that means it's a really efficient way of storing that ammo pack. You don't need to worry about mounting ammo packs anywhere else on the build either, because you've got that one purple on a hover, then you're sorted. You don't have to worry about your ammo consumption. So if you are storing a ammo pack close into the build, have it like this if preferable, whereby the things that it's going to the things that are at risk of exploding as it's no, the parts that are at risk from its explosion are usually going to be destroyed before it even explodes in the first place. You know, if that makes sense. Like this, for example. So that's number 2. Now we'll move on to number 3. But basically, you can use armor in this game as dual purpose. You can use ammo in this game as dual purpose. You can use it both as an ammo piece and you can use it as conventional armor, which is also quite useful. Okay, and as for number 2, we've got basically storing ammunition close into the build, but the safest way that you can do it. And I'll use this pulsar build I got off exhibition as an example. I don't have pulsars, which is why it has no weapons, but if you are storing ammo close into the build and you want it to be with something like this, a design like this means that if you are taking damage in the back, then 9 times out of 10 the hover will be destroyed before the ammo pack is, because the ammo pack is closer into the build, more protected, and it has more durability. So if you were to shoot at this in the back, for example, then you would destroy the hover, you would then destroy the ammo pack, but because you've already destroyed a hover, there is nothing at risk of the ammo pack exploding. When this ammo pack explodes, it's not going to touch these hovers, so you don't have to worry. The only thing that's going to blow off is that frame, but that frame no longer serves a purpose because the hover's already gone. And it's only going to damage the cabin, but the cabin would be damaged anyway if the ammo pack wasn't there. So this is a really efficient way of storing an ammo pack close into the build, because the parts that it would blow off from its explosion normally are destroyed before it even blows in the first place, if that makes sense. So if you are storing an ammo pack close into the build, try and do it something like this. It's also really efficient now because this build, for example, doesn't have to worry about ammo packs on the entire build. There's nothing much like free blues or anything like that. It's just one ammo pack at the back, nice and simple. You save the parts for the rest of the build, which is really cool. Right, so that one was short and sweet, and we'll get on to number 3 now. Number 3 and final one is basically the dual purpose of using ammo packs. So ammo you can use as a conventional ammo piece, obviously, but you can also use it as efficient armor, especially the purple ones. So a fused purple will have 260 durability for 340 mass. That's a really good efficient parts of armor, but you need to know how to use it. So a good example is this world build I got to show you. This has 2 pieces of ammo at the front, which double up as armor for the build, but it also has the redundancy piece at the back, whereby I've mounted this blue armor pack here, and this blue armor pack is only connected to the holo. So basically I never have to worry about it. The holo gets destroyed, that falls off, this never explodes. I never have to worry about this ammo pack exploding and damaging the Doppler or the radiator. It will just never happen because the holo it'll despawn after the holo gets destroyed. But anyway, as for the armor, you can use ammo packs as armor on builds. It really works well with wheeled builds, designs like this. But you've got to make sure that the parts that are affected by the ammo pack's explosion aren't too valuable. So if this explodes by here, for example, I've got my... Actually, that should be... So for the sake of this video, I've made a mistake, fellas. Now, I've got 2 ammo packs that are fused for minus explosion radius, and that is what you want. If you're using an ammo pack as both an ammo piece and as armor, then you should probably go with minus explosion radius as opposed to efficiency. Because on a build like this, because I've got the redundancy blue at the back, I don't need to really worry about my ammo count. These 2 are going to fall off at least halfway into the fight, pretty early on, because they're at the front of the build, and then I'm going to be relying on the blue for the rest of my armor for the rest of the match. So I don't need to worry about an efficiency fusion of these ammo pieces at the front, because I'm using them half as armor. And the minus explosion radius means that when they go bang, the explosion radius doesn't spread to my Gasan, which is valuable, or my actual piece of armor, or my shoot-throughs here, or my hybrid shoot-throughs here. When this explodes, the only thing it'll take off a hatchet, which I can afford to lose, I don't really care about it. It'll take off my gun mount, which is a piece of spaced armor, doesn't really weigh much, and it'll take off my sighter. Now, ideally, you wouldn't want it taken off the side, but from a building perspective, I could put, say, another part here. But I just kind of like, I'm an aesthetic kind of guy. I will take sacrifices for efficiency sometimes, and it's not a big deal. But I wanted to put the sire somewhere on the build, and I just kind of liked how it looked here. But if I go bang, for example, it doesn't spread to this armor pack, so it doesn't damage it. It doesn't damage the Gassan or anything valuable. It just takes off things that I can afford to lose anyway. And for that, I get a 290 durability armor pack for 400 kilograms, which is really efficient armor, and I'm happy to use it. So just keep an eye out that on certain builds like this, when you have armor at the front, you can use it as armor quite a few times. On my old Firebug, for example, this used to be like a Griffin cabin, and I would have armor packs by here, purples. Because it is a Firebug and you take damage from a lot of different angles, you would use the armor packs at the back as armor for the cabins, you know. And again, they were mounted on one piece of frame, but the wheels next to them were mounted on a separate one as well, so I could afford to lose the armor pack. And when the armor pack went bang, it wouldn't take off anything of import. More importantly, you got to make sure when you're using it as armor that when it explodes, it doesn't take off or damage anything valuable. Like if this was, say, 2 squares close, let's say if this was by here, this would be very inefficient because when it explodes, it's going to damage my Gassan quite a lot. Whereas when it's here, it doesn't. So that's important. And the Gassan is a really decent piece of armor, so I don't want to take off durability from it. So yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. Hopefully that explains everything that I can think of with regards to ammo in this game. Like I said, don't store... I'll do basically highlights. Don't store ammo deep in the build like this if you can. Ideally, you want ammo to be stored in a way that when the part attaching it to the build takes damage or that is destroyed, it just despawns. You don't have to worry about it ever. If you can't do that, then you're gonna want it whereby the part that it is in risk of exploding will probably die on the way to it anyway, so it's efficient at least, even if you are storing it close into the build. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.